Hello, everybody, and welcome again to the Squared Circle Podcast. Of course, as always, on Spreaker.com, iTunes, Player.fm, PodDirectory.com, Stitcher.com, TuneIn Radio, IW Nerd, as well as the Satchel Podcast Player for the Android and smartphone, and also Mr. NTG1990 on YouTube, as well as on SoundCloud. All right, guys, so I am being joined by somebody who has been called a knockout. She is a champion, right? But also she is known as the Rebel. I am here with Rebel here today. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I am doing well. It is an honor and a privilege to have you on the show. And all honesty, this all started with, I think I tried getting you on the show, and basically what they told me was that, okay, just go online to eBay and get a t-shirt of hers. I'm thinking, okay, that's totally fine. I get a new t-shirt out of it, so it doesn't matter to me. And I think I remember telling you on Twitter that I did not get the t-shirt, that instead I think I got...
You got the fishnet hose.
Yeah. I still have yet to get my t-shirt yet, but at the same time, it's just one of those things where it's like, hey, I'm not going to complain. I mean, I got a verification from you, fishnets, I guess, can't complain too much. I mean, I don't have like a girlfriend or anything that's just like, what the hell is this shit? Like,
That's I think that's probably the first whoopsie we've had with the eBay store. I don't know how that happened, but it did. So I apologize for that. We can totally trade it out for a t-shirt if you would like.
Oh, would you like me to send it back? Is that how it would work, or?
Well, whatever. Just email the booking email that you that you emailed, and we can get that sorted out. I thought on Twitter you said that was fine, so I didn't ever resurrect that issue. But if you would rather have a t-shirt, we absolutely can do that for you.
All right, well, awesome. Well, we'll get into that just a little bit later. Right now, we're here to talk about you and a little bit about yourself. Kind of looked a little into what you kind of were, and I kind of noticed that you actually started in Ohio Valley Wrestling, OVW, where a lot of the mainstream stars have actually started from. Guys like Randy Orton, Shelton Benjamin, Brock Lesnar, John Cena, Batista. Tell us about your experience in OVW, and just, I believe you've been there for a while now?
Yes. That's where I started training. It used to be a long time ago WWE developmental site and also TNA Impact Wrestling developmental site. It's where a lot of people have trained. Rip Rogers trained me, and I still to this day go back and do their Wednesday night shows that air locally.
Okay.
So, yeah, Rip Rogers is awesome. He's an awesome coach. Danny Davis, who owns OVW, is amazing, and hearing their stories and learning from them has been a great experience, and I recommend OVW to anyone that wants to get into wrestling.
Very nice, very nice. And I understand you're also the OVW Women's Champion, am I correct?
That's right, I am. I totally forgot about that. Yes, I am currently the OVW champ. I think I have a big match coming up on Tuesday. They're doing a special at a bar there, and so I don't know if it's a bar, it's a restaurant venue or something. So on Tuesday, next Tuesday, or this coming Tuesday, so I'm excited about that.
Very nice. You can't start off the new year better than that. I mean, you're defending your title, and I noticed that for a while it seemed like the women's division in OVW kind of took a hiatus. Do you know exactly what happened with that, or was that kind of one of those things where they just need...
I think there's always changes. There's always changes in who's running it, and who's involved in it, and sometimes or who's available there, and who's training there. So there's a lot of different factors, and so I can't pinpoint it to one thing. But sometimes, unfortunately, the women's division gets lost sometimes.
It's always a sad thing, because the women's division in any type of wrestling can always be just amazing. I know that in WWE they've done a great job trying to make the women's division stand out. Before we get too deep into wrestling, starting at the beginning, what got you into professional wrestling? What was the main thing that piqued your interest into saying, I'm interested in this and this has got me hooked?
I can't say, oh, it's just one thing. But wrestling for me definitely started back when I have been a cheerleader for 15 years, and I cheered for football, I cheered for basketball, and I cheered for wrestling. And my dad, and it's Olympic style wrestling, and my dad wrestled, my brother wrestled, and currently I have a nephew who's 12 years old and just won this weekend the U.S. Junior Open Championships, Division 4, 80 pounds, 12 years old, and he's the champion. So I like to say that it runs in the family, it's in the blood, somewhere. So I think it started back then.
All right. And what kind of got you wanting to get involved in wrestling and become a wrestler?
I think by my family, doing Olympic style wrestling and cheering for it. I've always been the girl who doesn't want to just cheer on the sidelines, who wants to get involved. And even when at that time when I was cheering, there wasn't female wrestlers when I was cheering in junior high and high school. So I would always wrestle around and warm up with the guys just for fun because I wanted to be part of the action, just like cheerleading. In football, I cheered for 15 years, and then I played actual full contact tackle football for the lingerie bowl. So I think it was only natural. I'm a big fan of women kicking butt. That professional wrestling was right up my alley.
Very nice, very nice. Now, if I remember correctly, your mainstream debut or your live network debut, TV debut, however you want to describe it, was actually working with the Menagerie in TNA, now Impact Wrestling. What was it like to really come out there and debut for live television for a group of? I'm trying to be nice. I don't want to say like a group of clowns or a group of. Well, I guess they put it as carnies, but kind of just talk about a little bit how it was like just going out there on your first night on a live network.
It was amazing. I feel like we were received very well. I loved the guys that I was working with, and I loved that group. I missed that group, and I don't know if everybody does, but I certainly do. It was a lot of fun. I think that I'm a carny myself, being in the entertainment industry since at a very young age, and so I definitely relate to that group and being a carny, and I think wrestling in general, we're all, wrestlers are all a bit carny. So the fans, the light, the glimmer, the fun, it was all a bit surreal and an awesome experience that I will never forget.
And I think it's really crazy how, after you guys had that brief run as the Menagerie, you guys all split up, and the Freak and Nux never got to see what really happened with them, but I think you and Crazy Steve were probably the best out of the two, obviously, because Crazy Steve would go on to team on with Abyss and become DK, one of the best teams I've seen in probably years, and then you would go on to team up with the Dollhouse, Marty Bell, as well as Jade, to, I guess, fill in for Taryn. But talk a little bit about like the experience and all the kind of good memories that you had working with the Dollhouse, because I remember you coming in there, and I'm thinking, well, this is kind of interesting because you were always, the good kind of, I guess, carny, good girl, and now you're going on to be a bit of a badass heel with the Dollhouse.
Yeah, I loved being in the Dollhouse. I loved being with the other girls, and Jade and Marty were awesome. It was certainly fun being bad, and it was a big growing experience with being with them, and I learned a lot and learned how to start having more fun in the ring. And I feel like there's something to say about things that when being bad is more fun to you, there's something to be said about that. Yeah, I have only, good memories and great fun and growing experiences being in that group. And hope that one day that can be resurrected.
Hey, who knows? We may see the reunion of the Dollhouse in the near future. Who knows? You never know.
Who knows? Anything can happen.
Yes. You also, when you mentioned a bond, one of the things I think about is that it's very tough to find, true friends and make real acquaintances and real relationships in the wrestling world. Do you have any friends that you had while you were in OVW or in Impact Wrestling that you kind of consider, either close or just people that you would, trust? I guess is the best way to put it.
Absolutely. You make a lot of work friends, and as in any workplace, you have work friends that you love going and having a drink with, and then you have ones that you have a strong bond with and become best friends. And I have a lot of friends that I can trust in the business, and I have a lot of friends that I wouldn't say I don't trust, but maybe I haven't had the quality time to make that bond grow. But certainly, I've just made a ton of friends in the business, and I'm thankful for that. I haven't experienced a lot of backstabbing or anything like that, or any girls that I just didn't really like, outside of behind the camera in wrestling.
Right, because I know that a lot of people try to, step on other people's toes to get ahead, or they use them as stepping stones, but it's really good to see that that's not always the case. I've heard so many stories from other wrestlers in interviews. It's just oh, this person used me to get to this point of their career or this point of their career and blah, blah, blah. But it is pretty refreshing to hear that, that's not always the case.
I think that's one great thing about TNA Impact Wrestling locker room is that they're pretty much all of them are, just outstanding human beings.
Now, here's a good question, because I think a lot of people would like to kind of know. Dixie Carter. A lot of people have said a lot of negative things about her, and there's people that say some positive things about her. In your experience, have you had any positive or negative experiences with Dixie Carter?
It's always been a professional relationship with Dixie Carter, and every time I've interacted with her, I don't have any negative things to say.
Sweet, that settles that one. Talk about your wrestling style. It is kind of unique, and I do know that you adapted one move from, I believe, one of your friends, Christy Hemme, the splits from, I think, the second ropes, which I think is very unique, but also can be very painful if missed. I mean, we can get into that a little bit later, but who do you kind of, I guess, adapt from as far as your wrestling styles? Who do you kind of look up to and think this is the kind of wrestling style that I want to be?
Well, I don't think there's a certain wrestling style that I look for. I'll tell you where I get a lot of my inspiration from, though, is Sherry Martel.
All right.
I have studied her a lot, and that's where I get a lot of my inspiration from.
Very nice. Hall of Famer, and can't really blame her. I mean, God rest the woman's soul, but
Absolutely.
It's really just awesome just to look back and see all these classic wrestlers as well as managers and seeing where they kind of come up, and you're thinking, that'd be kind of interesting to have, that kind of aspect to it. But I think now I want to kind of know, whenever you hit I think the splits from the top, obviously if you hit it, it's great. What kind of pain is it when you miss, though?
It's painful no matter what. Whether you land it on someone or you don't.
Okay.